Hi, Las Vegas. This is Congressman Dean Heller, and you're listening to my favorite morning talk show, The Heidi Harris Show, on News Talk 720 KDWN.
Well, we got to get Dean Heller to cut a new one for us now that he's a senator. So I think Dean Heller is going to be a good senator. Mark Amodei is with me. He is running, of course, for Dean Heller's old seat. What do you think? You think he's going to be a good senator?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, there's a lot of speculation when John Ensign resigns, like, well, caretaker, Heller, whatever. It's like, listen, there's 10 Republicans U.S. Senate seats up this time. 2 of them were identified as potentially vulnerable. This was one of them that was identified as one of those. Dean Heller is the strongest candidate that we had said he was going to run. Putting him in now makes imminent political sense if you want to, because there's only 3-seat difference in control of the U.S. Senate right now.
Right.
So it's like, hey, listen, as far as blocking and tackling and playing defense, that was the best move to make this seat a strong contender to get out of the potentially vulnerable one and hang on to in 2012.
Now, what about Shelley Berkeley? You know, Shelley Berkeley's tough. She's a tough campaigner. She's a consummate politician. She thinks that seat is rightfully hers. I don't think this is going to be an easy race.
Oh, no. I mean, you look at the fact that we were fully engaged in trying to take Harry Reid back to Searchlight, and he prevailed with that Obama ground game that he kept warmed up from 2008, which we all know will be in full bloom in 2012, probably be in full bloom in this special election because people are calling it a bellwether. Nevada is clearly a battleground state. So now, as one of your colleagues at the national level referred to it as, Nevada's gone from being a battleground state to a battleground state on steroids. I mean, it will be an absolutely active atmosphere.
No question about that. Now, should you become the next congressman, what would some of your priorities be?
Well, I think, Heidi, everybody's talking about things like the budget, the debt limit, things like that. You have to turn around the financial direction of the country. You have to turn that around. I think the time for saying, well, maybe we can work this out and let's stretch it out, for the next 20 or 30 years I don't think we have that.
Well, that's what Harry Reid said. He's going to be dead. He said, Social Security, we'll let it go for 20 years. I'm getting so tired of these people who are going to be dead or don't have to worry about Social Security telling me that I don't need to worry about it. I do, because that's when I'm going to need it, and it's not going to be there. Well,
the credibility factor is just getting down to zero. It's like, listen, the problem is now. Disaster is imminent in a financial sense for all of these, and it's like, listen, I know you're thinking in 6-year cycles or whatever, with all due respect, Senator Reid, and maybe it'll be, you can keep the lug nuts on until, your last election, but we need a policy that doesn't talk about lug nuts in election. It needs to be fixed now.
Yeah,
so clearly that's the financial direction of the country is job one, but that gets back to Nevada too, because we're in some of the toughest times we've ever faced post-depression, and you know what? It's going to be a heavy lift to help us out.
Yeah, no question. Now, when you talk about the budget, everybody says, we need to stop spending. Now, the Republicans at least won some concessions from the Democrats, although, of course, the Democrats should have put out their budget last fall. They didn't do it. They waited. They had the majority. They could have done whatever they wanted. They waited. They put it on the Republicans.
Political calculation.
Yeah, of course it was a political calculation. They didn't get everything they wanted, but they at least got some concessions. We've got to just really go in there drastically and make changes, because I don't know how we're going to turn this ship around if the Republicans don't. How do the Republicans stop themselves from being characterized as uncaring? You want the seniors to live in trailers and eat cat food. You don't care if our kids are educated. How do you get past that the way the Democrats constantly characterize the Republicans?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing you do is and you hit on it, you have to change the direction. You can't continue to do what you've done. And when you talk about seniors, the most insidious thing, my mom was born in 1932. And so you look at people in that generation, you say those folks grew up in the Great Depression, a very vulnerable time in their lives, when they're toddlers and small and don't have control. And now here they are at a time when they're fixed income. The most insidious thing that happened to many of those folks is they were told, if you save and you invest and blah, 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 and see what happened in the stock market. Now it's come back, but people are going, what's the basis of it coming back? Nobody is comfortable with how that looks. And in these economic times, when you talk about what are you going to do about seniors, you need stability in those traditional things that people supplement their retirements with. You need stability. It's the same as businesses want. Individuals want predictability and stability in their financial picture. So when you look at that, say, first and foremost, you've got to put the government on a sound footing so you're not worried about somebody politically changing the landscape. Heidi, it's no news to anybody that the age wave, the generation that you and I are in, we're the folks, when we came through, a lot of these programs were set up with more people working than drawing.
That's right.
Well, that's been turned around.
Sure.
That's a fact. That's not Republicans or Democrats. So it's time to sit down and go, how do you make this sustainable without pulling the rug out from under people who are already vested and in the program, but you have to matriculate over a relatively short period of time. I would say for those programs, it's like, within the next 10 years or whatever, to where it's like, guess what, Amodei? If you're 52 years old right now and you're planning on Social Security to be for you what it was for your mom, we need to let you know how that's going to change so that you can plan for it and we can be fair about it.
Right.
And I don't know where that cutoff is, but it's something that's doable, and we need to start talking about that. The insidiousness right now is nobody's talking about it. They just kind of keep moving it a few years down the road going, well, it's okay right now. And it's like, you're whistling past the graveyard.
Well, that's true. We're speaking with Mark Amodei. That's so true. Well, look at Wisconsin. Look what happened when the governor tried to hold the line there. I mean, it's interesting how the people who believe they're entitled to things are so vicious about it. And I know they've been made a lot of promises, and I know the promises can't be kept, whether it's to teachers or government workers, they simply cannot be kept. And I understand how they feel, especially if they've worked 20 years as a teacher or something like that. But why should I have ever funded anybody else's retirement other than my own? Well, Social Security aside, I'm talking about public workers. I mean, that whole thing, we talk about built on sand.
Yep. And it's funny that you should mention that, because that whole program is one where you sit there and you say, who's responsible for this? And I'll tell you, since you're talking to somebody who's running for office, the people who ultimately agreed to those systems, the elected officials who didn't have the political will to say, you know what, we can't afford that.
Right.
Look at, for instance, in the private sector, General Motors. Nobody said we really can't afford those benefit packages. And look what happened to those folks.
Yeah, because they were scared of the unions, and now there's no money, and now I've got to bail them out.
You can't sell a car for enough to pay for all that stuff. In government, you can't tax enough to pay for all those things. I've been criticized for a collective bargaining vote in 2009, which, by the way, the bill had absolutely no money in it. It wasn't wages or benefits. It was conditions. But I stood up on the floor of the state Senate and said, we have got to start treating people equally. And the problem here is we're sucking all of the air out of the state general fund to keep the union leadership of the teachers union happy, and we're burning down the rest of the state for it.
Right.
We've got to stop that.
Well, why can't somebody stand up? No, nobody will. I mean, for example, when you look at in our county, and of course it goes up in all the counties in the state, you look at the firefighters. There's been a lot of attention paid to how much firefighters make, city, county, whatnot. But these elected officials, I don't blame the firefighters for taking advantage of it. I'd love to get a deal like that, but they're not the ones who voted for it. I mean, the union, and we're talking about the elected officials who will not pony up and say, I never should have gone along with this. They're the ones who signed on the dotted line, and now they act horrified when times are tough and these contracts are rich and it's come to everyone's attention.
And that's a large part of the responsibility, is if you as an elected official voted to do those things, knowing full well that you would need a continually increasing tax base to do it. It's like, you know what, you made a mistake. Better own up to it, and we need to fix it.
Right, but they won't do it because they're scared to death of the unions are so powerful. If anybody had any doubt, look at Harry Reid, busing people in, by the busload to go vote for him. The unions are pretty much telling everybody they're going to take all your benefits, they're going to starve you to death. I'm not so sure, Mark Amodei, if the people who expect all these entitlements aren't outnumbering the rest of us. I mean, it's starting to get scary.
Well, it's getting close, but here's the thing. It doesn't alter the fact, Heidi, that if you go in there and cast those votes for what you know is fiscally responsible and commonsensical, and you get kicked out of office, it's like, hey, you weren't born to be in office your whole life. You've got to do the right thing by the policy when you're there.
That's the important thing. Mark Amodei is here. He is running for Dean Heller's former congressional seat. 257 KDWN, 257-5396. Questions for Mark Amodei. We'll be happy to take those when we come back. I'm Heidi Harris. Here's Mitch Kelly in the KDWN, Nevada Federal Credit Union Traffic Center.
95 southbound's turned into a big mess. Got an accident at Craig Road. Now, it was blocking a lane for a while. It's now off on the left shoulder, but you're still slow back before and on 95 south. Drivers might want to take Rainbow or Jones south to Cheyenne, then Cheyenne over to US 95. 95 southbound approaching I-15. An accident there had the left lanes blocked. They had to stop all traffic for a while to move the cars involved out of the travel lanes, and we're seeing leftover slowdowns to Valley View on 95 southbound. 95 north, a little bit of braking through the downtown area. No big issues yet along 15, 215, and Summerlin Parkway. Seems like all the problems confined to 95 south right now. From the KDWN Nevada Federal Credit Union Traffic Center, Mitch Kelly, News Talk 720, KDWN.
Thank you, Dr. Tom.
Barack Obama's legacy of failure seems endless. High unemployment rates persist after the government bailed out banks, automobile companies, and targeted our healthcare system. Gas prices keep rising higher and higher, while our national debt surpasses a record $14 trillion. And while Obama earns a reputation of incompetence abroad with his reckless and confused foreign policy, our borders remain unsecured as drug traffickers and terrorists seek to exploit our negligence. For the good of America, it's time to give Barack Obama the boot. Join CampaignToDefeatObama.com for a special 3-hour radiothon on KDWN 720 AM, Thursday, May 19th from 6 to 9 p.m., featuring conservative leaders from across the nation. Find out how we can defeat Barack Obama once and for all. That's Thursday, May 19th from 6 to 9 p.m. on KDWN 720 AM. Paid for and authorized by the Campaign to Defeat Barack Obama. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
676-2006. Join News Talk 720 KDWN for the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life this Saturday and Sunday at Centennial High School. KDWN's John Schaefer will help kick off the Relay for Life at 6 p.m. on Saturday. And it's not too late for you to get your team involved to help raise money for the American Cancer Society and join the over 80 teams that already signed up for the Valley's largest Relay for Life. For more information on how you can get your team involved, log on to KDWN.com and click on the Relay for Life link. Join the Relay for Life.
The best price for coins and no BS. See the coin star at American Coin Express. Coins and currency, stamps and chips. We're the experts in the coin business. Buying or selling with a name to know. If you want top dollar with a place to go. The best price for coins and no BS. See the coin star at American Coin Express.
American Coin Express, Nevada's largest coin and currency dealer. Now with 2 superstores on both sides of town, on Sunset Road and Sahara at Fort Apache. Both stores open 7 days a week. We have the experience to get you the best prices guaranteed. So stop into either American Coin Express superstore and see why we're the coin stars of Las Vegas. Call 248-COIN or click AmericanCoinExpress.com.
The best price for coins and no BS. See the coin star at American Coin Express.
And help the American 720 KDWN.
Summertime itches from bug bites, sunburn, and poison ivy need fast relief. Try Gold Bond Maximum Relief Cream with 2 maximum strength medicines that cool and soothe pain and itch on contact. And for those everyday itches from rashes, dry skin, allergies, even recurring conditions, there's new Gold Bond Intensive Healing Cream with 2 medicines and 7 moisturizers that work a full 24 hours. Remember, for a quick itch fix, get Maximum Relief Cream. And for long-lasting healing, pick up new Intensive Healing Cream, only from Gold Bond. Use as directed.
Here's another question from the Geico Savings Mailbag.
David from St. Paul writes, my son's wondering if you'll come to his class so he can get extra credit on his biology test.
Extra credit?
Well, if there are any questions on that test about which company could save you money on your RV insurance...
Which is an unlikely question for a biology test.
Then the answer is Geico.
True.
For all other questions about RV insurance, I like to guess answer G. EICO.
Call Geico today for a free rate quote. Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance.
Now, back to the Valley's top local talk show host, Heidi Harris. Call Heidi now at 257-5396.
Mark Amodei is here. He is running for Congressional District 2. That's a Dean Heller seat that he just left. Now that Dean Heller's the new senator, got an empty office there. Mark Amodei wants to fill it in the special election. 257 KDWN, 257-5396. What is it, Tony? Ian? I love the way Tony spells EAON. It's IAN, but that's okay. It's EAON? Really?